Alright everybody, welcome to my MLB playoff prediction video and awards for the 2018 season. I did this at the beginning of the year, the All-Star break, and now at the end of the year, I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win the World Series, who's going to win it all, who's going to hoist the trophy in the air with their teammates. Now, let's get underway. Okay, first we got to start with the tiebreaker games, the 163s between Dodgers and Rockies and Brewers and Cubs. Let's start with the Dodgers and Rockies. Okay, the Dodgers are definitely not the team they were in 2017. That team was just magical. It had a certain attitude to it. And even though they still have that attitude, I feel like they did not perform like that, or else they wouldn't be playing in this 163 and almost be a wild card, because they still could be. But the Rockies, I feel like, are a much better team than they were last season. They went to the playoffs and they were a wild card, but they look like mean. They look like they want to win. Although, I don't think they're winning this tiebreaker game. I think since the Dodgers are at home, and I feel like they play way better at home, and they've put together a team that they are ready to win with Machado, Dozier, David Freese, and all these players, and I think they just have the talent at home, and it's just all the things they have done. I think they are going to win this 163. The Brewers and the Cubs. The Brewers, what an exciting year for Brewers fans. Christian Yelich almost gets triple crown, and then the Cubs have also added pieces like the Dodgers. They added Daniel Murphy. That's all I can think of right now, but this is going to be an interesting game because the Brewers don't have the best pitching in the world, but their offense is crazy good. Chris Bryant is so talented all over. Then you have Daniel Murphy, who can get average, and he can get hits, and he can hit for power sometimes. And then the rest of that team is talented too. Javier Baez, MVP candidate. At the beginning of the year, the Brewers bullpen was very solid. It was very impressive. Then it kind of went down as the season went on, but that's what happens. It's a long season. It's 162 games, everybody. So your gas tank's gonna run out. But I feel like the Brewers, they have been doing great lately. They've been winning a lot, and I feel like they are going to win this 163 game and be the new NL Central champion. And I feel like they are going to go on to be safe in the division game, and the Cubs are going to have to play the wild card game. All right, to the wild card game. Let's start with the National League, the Cubs and the Rockies. Now, I think this is where the Cubs are going to show that they are mad that they lost the division, and I think they're going to take it out on the Rockies. I think the Rockies are going to be very upset too. I think this wild card game is going to be high scoring. I think both of these clubs have very, very good offenses. The Rockies, they have okay pitching. Kyle Freeland had a really good year for them. The Cubs, they have good pitching too. They have people who can step up in big moments. There's Cole Hamels who could do it, John Lester, Jose Quintana. In the end, I think it will be high scoring in this wild card game. I think the Cubs, though, will get the W, and they will fly the W. Okay, now after all that National League madness, we can get to the AL where things were set a long time ago. The Yankees and the A's. The Yankees had a very, very good season, but guess what? The Red Sox had a better season. The A's came out of nowhere this year. Nobody expected them to be a team that would be in the playoffs. But that's what the A's do. Every few years, they just show up and they dominate and they get themselves to the playoffs. The Yankees covered what they needed, and that was pitching. They knew their hitting was fine. They have Stanton and Judge. That alone is scary enough. But then they had rookies who stepped up for them, like Andujar and Voit. Like I said, I think they covered what they needed, the pitching, and it's not the best pitching in the world, but it's getting the job done. J.A. Happ is doing very well for them. There's also Lance Lynn, and then they have the pitchers they already had to start with. Luis Severino, even though he didn't have a good year compared to last year, definitely a downgrade from last year, he's still Luis Severino, and he did pretty good, and I just think the Yankees have more talent. I don't think this A's team has enough experience. The Yankees team is just, they're ready. And they were one game away from the World Series last year, so I think they definitely have what it takes to get back in farther in the playoffs, so I think the Yankees win this wild card game. Okay, that takes us to the division series. For me, the first one would be Dodgers and Braves. The Dodgers, like I said, they definitely have not had a year that was like last year was magical, and it was just amazing for them. I went to games. I saw the atmosphere of that team. And then the Braves. They came out of nowhere. Everybody thought the Nationals were going to have this division locked up again, me included. And then the Phillies too, they were like, hey, we're going to compete with you for this division, even though the Braves came out on top. However, I don't think the Braves are going to win. The Braves are so young. They have Acuna, they have Albies, but they have veterans too, Freeman, and it's just, I don't see them taking down the Dodgers. I will say, I think they will get a win out of this series, but I think the Dodgers are going to take it 3-1. Next, the Cubs and Brewers once again. I think this is where the Cubs get their revenge. Okay, I think in a longer series, I think the Cubs would come out on top. I know I said the Brewers for the 163 game, but that's just one game. But I think the Brewers are going to make it back to face them in a series again, and I think just in an expanded series, more games to play, I think the Cubs have the advantage. They have the playoff experience, won a World Series 2 years ago, and they had young players then. So those young players know what it's like to win it all. So I think that is going to be the case. I think the Cubs are going to come out on top in this series, and I think it will be 3-2. I think they're going to play all 5. Some would say the best rivalry in sports, the Red Sox and the Yankees. Like I said, the Yankees have a very talented offense. Rookies that stepped up, that they needed that to happen. The Red Sox, so they're just overall a great team. The offense is historical. It's amazing. JD Martinez was almost a Triple Crown winner. There's JD, there's Mookie Betts, there's Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, Jackie Bradley Jr., and then other players step up when those players don't. And then the pitching, Chris Sale, David Price, Rick Porcello. It's a very solid pitching rotation, and if those pitchers can pitch like they can, like everyone knows how good they are, then I think they will go a long way in the playoffs. I think it will be a full 5 games, but I think the Red Sox will come out on top. Okay, the Indians and the Astros, both of these teams have had playoff experience in the recent years. The Indians lost to the Cubs. The Astros won it all last year. However, I think we're going to see an upset here. I think the Indians are so talented this year. Don't get me wrong, the Astros are too. But Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor have had great seasons for this team. And then the Astros, you have Correa, who's been plagued by injury, and he just hasn't looked the same since the injury. He hasn't played the same. And then Jose Altuve was injured this year, but of course he's still Jose Altuve. He's last year's MVP. Then George Springer, Tyler White had a breakout year this year. But I just think the Indians are going to upset the Astros. I don't know why. I just think it's going to happen. I know the Astros also have Verlander and Cole, and they have other pitchers that can step up for them too. But then the Indians, I don't know. Their bullpen might be the death of them. That might be the case. But I just think the Indians are going to have it. I think they're ready. Michael Brantley had a great comeback year. He was determined to play good for this team, and he did. And like I said, Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor, both MVP candidates. I think they are going to win. I think the Indians have this one. And I think it's going to be another series where all 5 games will be played, and I think the Indians will get 3 of the 5. All right, the NLCS. I think it'll be the Cubs and the Dodgers. Man, we have seen that a lot, I feel like. Anyways, the Dodgers are constantly in this spot, but I think the Cubs are going to come out on top. I think the Cubs will be going back to the World Series, Cubs fans. Both of these teams all around are good. They're very similar to each other, if you ask me. Because, at least I'm talking offense, because they have utility players that can move all over the place. Both of these teams do, like Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez. Then you go to the Cubs and you have Albert Almora Jr., Javier Baez. Like, they can play everywhere. I saw one game this season where Chris Bryant was playing right field. So, I don't know. But I just feel like the Cubs have it better. I feel like their pitching is solid, and I feel like the bullpen is where the Dodgers might lose, and what is gonna let them down. I don't know. It's just, this is tough. These are 2 very similar teams in my opinion, but I think the offense of the Javier Baez is an MVP candidate this year, and then Rizzo is also very good. Bryant, he came back from injury, like I was saying about the Astros and players who come back from injury, but Bryant looked good coming back from his injury. Albert Almora Jr. is impressive. Wilson Contreras, Schwarber is still there, and Hayward. Those players can step up. I just think they have an all-around team that is going to get them to the World Series. They're not going to go down easy to the Dodgers. I don't think so. I think that the Cubs will take it 4-2. All right, the Red Sox and the Indians. The Red Sox, my God. What is their weakness? I just don't know. The offense is definitely not. You have two MVP candidates in that lineup with JD Martinez and Mookie Betts. It's just ridiculous, if you ask me. This team, it was so close to the Mariners' all-time win record. And then the Indians also have two MVP candidates in their lineup with Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor. However, I think, like I said, I think the Red Sox are better overall, and I think they will beat the Indians and go to the World Series. I think they'll play all 7. 4-3 Boston. Okay, the World Series, the Red Sox and the Cubs. That's what I think the World Series is going to be this year. I just think these teams have the talent to make it all the way, but I think the Red Sox are going to easily take it. I think the AL has the NL had a bunch of teams that were fighting to make it to the postseason, but the AL, the postseason was set, but those teams were so dominant. Like the Red Sox, I think could beat any National League team in the World Series. Like that's how good they are. I think they could beat any team right now. I just think they're that good. And imagine this World Series, guys. It's either going to be one in Fenway or it's going to be one in Wrigley. How awesome is that? Now, I think the Red Sox, with their pitching, their hitting, their everything really, and this team isn't that young. They have experience. That's why they added veterans like Ian Kinsler. And JD Martinez has the experience too. Mookie Betts is no rookie. He's been around for a few seasons. And I just think they're the better team. I don't think the Red Sox will sweep the Cubs, but I do think they will take 4 games and the Cubs will only get 1. I think the Red Sox will be the 2018 World Series champions. Okay, now let's get to the awards, which will be after all this playoff madness. Let's start with the MVPs. The AL MVP, I think it is going to be JD Martinez. Yes, a lot of you are probably going to say Mookie Betts. Red Sox fans, you're probably not even mad because both of those players are Red Sox. It's definitely going to be a Red Sox who's going to be MVP. But I think it's going to be JD Martinez. I think he deserves it. He signed there this season, and in his first season, he almost won Triple Crown. Are you kidding me? Only stopped by his teammate, really, and Chris Davis, who hit more home runs than him. But I think JD Martinez deserves it way more than Mookie Betts. A lot of the argument is going to be that Mookie Betts is also a fielder, so he has that side. JD Martinez is a DH. But when you put up numbers like that, a DH that had a .330 batting average, 43 home runs, and 130 RBIs, that is ridiculous. And in Fenway Park, where people did not think he was going to succeed, he came in there and he was just like, yeah, no, that's not happening. And I think he really does deserve it. I love watching JD Martinez. He has such a simple swing and the ball just flies. I really think he's going to win MVP. Now the National League MVP, another Triple Crown candidate, Christian Yelich. He almost won Triple Crown too. And then the other runner-up is going to be Javier Baez. A lot of people are saying it's Baez or Yelich. It's got to be one of those, and I think it is Yelich. Here is what Yelich finished with: a .323 batting average, 36 home runs, and 109 RBIs. Yelich was ridiculous this season. He had 2 cycles, both against the Reds. Reds fans, I'm sure that hurt to watch twice. Anyways, 2 cycles in a season, and then he picked it up at the end of the year. He was on fire. That game where he homered for his brother. His brother was in the military. That was awesome to watch. Yelich is just an all-around entertaining player. I think he has the National League MVP. Okay, now let's get to Cy Youngs. The American League Cy Young winner, I think, is going to be Blake Snell. Blake Snell is a young pitcher in Tampa Bay. He is a left-handed pitcher, but he had a great year. Led the AL in ERA, 1.89. He had 21 wins, which is awesome, and 221 strikeouts. So obviously he was not first in strikeouts, but the dude dominated basically every pitching category. I don't think there's anyone close to Blake Snell. I think he has the American League Cy Young wrapped up. Next, there's going to be a lot of controversy with the NL Cy Young, but I think it belongs to Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom had a historical year for ERA. And listen to this. If Jacob deGrom got 4 runs in every game he started, then he would have been 31-0. Sadly, he finished 10-9. He had 269 strikeouts. But imagine if he was on a team that gave him run support. I don't care if the Mets are not in the playoffs. Jacob deGrom was dominant. If your team was facing him, you knew it was going to be a tough win because you had to score off him, which rarely happened based on his 1.70 ERA. And I just don't think anyone else deserves it. It's a personal award. It's not a team award. The Cy Young is for the best pitcher. It's not for the best pitcher on the winningest team. I think Jacob deGrom deserves this Cy Young. That's who I think it's going to be. NL Cy Young, Jacob deGrom. All right, Rookie of the Year. It is going to be intense this year. There's going to be a lot of upset people. One of them might be me, but I think the American League Rookie of the Year is going to be Shohei Ohtani. Now, a lot of you are like, he's only saying that because he's an Angels fan. I got the stats to back it up, people. Miguel Andujar is the other person that people are going to fight. They're going to argue for him. But listen, okay? First of all, let's get something out of the way that Andujar never did. Shohei Ohtani pitched, okay? We had Japanese Babe Ruth this year. We have not had someone do that in such a long time. Now, he went 4-2. He had a 3.31 ERA, and he struck out 63 batters. Now, for strikeouts, if he would have had a full 162 game season at pitching, based on the 63 strikeouts he had, he would have finished with 214. That's what it would have been around if he had a full season of pitching. So that is pretty dang good. Now his ERA, yes, in the threes, isn't the best, but it's all right. And then 4-2, I think that is good enough, okay? So there's what Andujar did not do. He did not pitch. Then let's get to the batting where we can compare them. Now, obviously Andujar played a lot more, okay? He had 602 at-bats compared to Shohei's 363 at-bats. Now, here's how many home runs Andujar had. He had 27. How many did Shohei Ohtani have? 22. Okay? We're talking about like 300 less at-bats, and he was only 5 home runs short of Andujar. And then get to their RBIs, 92 RBIs, okay? And then Shohei Ohtani had 61. He basically had 2/3 of what Andujar had, okay? Their total hits, Andujar, 169, Shohei Ohtani, 92. He almost had 100 hits, okay? And half the at-bats. Anyways, that is my case for Shohei Ohtani, Rookie of the Year. So I really hope that happens. I think those stats back it up. And Shohei Ohtani, I think, will be the American League Rookie of the Year. All right, this one is also tough because it's going to come down to 2 people, and it's going to be a very, very close vote. Ronald Acuna and Juan Soto. Now, they're very close in stats. That's what's going to make this hard. Acuna's batting average, 293. Soto's, 294. Now, home runs, Acuna, 26. Soto, 22. RBIs for Acuna, 63. Soto, 70. So they are very close in stats. So Acuna does not lead in batting average. That belongs to Soto. Acuna has the home runs, but Soto has the RBIs. So even though Soto leads in 2 of the 3 categories, I think Acuna is going to win National League Rookie of the Year. I think he had more of an impact on the Braves, and I think it's just going to be his year for Rookie of the Year. And then he had that long streak. What did he home run? 8 straight games, 8 straight leadoff home runs or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. So I think that Ronald Acuna deserves National League Rookie of the Year. All right, everybody, thank you for watching this video. I hope you like my prediction for the playoffs and my award winners. Like the video, subscribe. I'll see you next time.